Hello again, Andrew here. So this video is the second video of my 10 vlogs in 10 days challenge. So this is following up from the video yesterday. Yesterday was my first one. And so I briefly explained how, I started experiencing issues with addiction 15 years ago. After 5 years, I was just fucking sick of it and wanted to stop this behavior that I was doing compulsively, or set of behaviors. And I tried to stop and realized, okay, I can't stop. Okay, something's going on here. I need some help, went online, blah, blah, blah. And then spent the last 10 years trying to just overcome it. Discovering what works a bit and what doesn't actually work in the long run. Just going deeper, trying all kinds of things. And it turns out that addiction recovery there's a lot involved in it. It's very, very difficult, from my experience, to overcome it. You know, my experience as well as many others who I've heard from online, in books, even personally. So in the video yesterday, I mentioned how there's 5 things that must be dealt with in order to overcome addiction successfully. Not just overcome it, but live a happy life, live a happy, peaceful, joyful life. So I'm not going to go into all 5 things, but I'll tell you number one that must be dealt with is the behavior, whether it's taking a substance or just doing a behavior compulsively. It could be like, a behavior that in itself seems okay, but if it's done compulsively, that's like that implies a lack of free will, lack of choice, lack of control. And if we're out of control, that's not cool. Life's not going to be fun at all. So we want to stop this behavior, or at least stop the compulsion. Things like overeating. You can't just knock it out completely, of course, because you've got to eat. But eating compulsively and eating the wrong things, that's not good. So how do we quit this behavior? So what is happening when we're having this behavior? So there's clearly a desire to do this behavior. So I'll talk from my own personal experience. So I've been hooked on many different things, but the one that's always been the biggest, had like the biggest spell on me, we could say, is smoking weed. And it just somehow, for whatever reason, clicks with me in a certain way that if I was to just have some more again today, it would very quickly go back to all day, every day, compulsively, like a maniac. Fucking hell. So yeah, my friends know, my family know. So, right. So it really comes down to desire and perception, and really about certain things that we associate to pain and associate to pleasure in our nervous system. And Sigmund Freud talked about this a long time ago. Tony Robbins talks a lot about it as well. So really we do a particular behavior either because we associate it with pleasure, or we associate not doing it with pain. Okay, so for me, smoking weed, I associated smoking weed with pleasure, and I associated being without it with great pain. And so when I got to the point where, okay, I don't want to be doing this anymore. It's really contributing nothing to my life, and it's actually taking away a whole lot from my life, my life experience. And so, okay, so let's say I've got this strong desire to smoke weed, but I want to stop. So I've also got a strong desire to quit it, to be without, okay? So then I try to stop, and I can't, okay? Because there's a huge conflict. I really want it, but I really don't want it. There's a huge conflict. So let's say I quit it, okay? So I've kind of won in a sense. I've done the thing I wanted to do, which was quit. But also I'm gonna have this thing coming up in my mind, like I want it. And if that's persistent, if that's there, it will be persistent, and eventually I'll listen to this part again, and then I'll have it. Okay, so I've done this, I do what I want, and then I do what I want again in this sense. So it's very, very difficult. So what we need to do is we need to remove the part that wants it. Remove it, or correct it, or transform it. So we've got to do that by tweaking the mind, doing some little psychology tricks. So when I was smoking, when I thought of weed, I would think pleasure. And when I thought of being without it, I would think pain or feel pain. It's more about the feeling than the thinking. So what I had to do is do some work within myself, within my mind, with my neuro associations. Make it so that when I thought about weed, instead of thinking smoking it gives me pleasure, I had to make it so that I think smoking it gives me pain, and being without it gives me great pleasure instead of pain. So that's what I had to do. And there's many ways actually you can do that. One way that's really been helpful for me is through writing. And writing, so kind of, for example, writing 3 points, 3 things, so like basically linking the behavior to pain, to deep pain. So if I continue to do this, then this bad thing will happen or continue to happen. This bad thing will happen or continue to happen, you know, do a few of those. And so also do that, and then so this bad thing will happen. So let's give an actual example. So for example, me, if I continue to smoke weed all day every day, then you know I'll never make any videos that, you know, are fun, that kind of contribute to people. I just won't have the energy or the confidence, or I'll just feel like all kind of like shitty. I will never get anything done. And so then we reverse that and we write a little bit more about stopping that, and how stopping that, we link that to pleasure. So I'll give you the same example. So when I stop smoking weed, now you know, I have the energy, I have the mental clarity, the confidence to actually make a video that could, you know, contribute to people. At the very least, you know, I'm like practicing a skill that I think is worth developing. So yeah, that's you know, that's an example. So focus on the pain of continuing it and the pleasure of quitting it. And you know, do that for, you know, just do that over and over again, psychologize yourself, recondition yourself, change your associations. The more you do that, then basically new neural pathways in the brain will start to be created. And the more you do that, the stronger these connections will become. And then it will be the case whereas before you would think about this behavior, think, okay, I wanna do this, you know, the behavior we want to quit. You were previously thinking pleasure. Now there's going to be new connections, so that when you now think about it, you'll think about pain. So now it's like, you know, there's no issue for me with weed because I've done this work. Now when I think about it, I just think, ugh, I don't want to do that. So you know, that's why I don't need willpower. It's because I don't have the will to have it. You know what I mean? So that's the myth of willpower again. There's lots of different, you can also recondition yourself with NLP. Stands for neuro-linguistic programming. So reprogramming the brain essentially, or reprogramming how the brain speaks to itself, the connections. It's similar to hypnosis. You can also do this with hypnosis. So changing your neuro associations, what you link to pain and what you link to pleasure, is in fact the most effective way, actually the only way that I've found to be effective in terms of quitting a behavior, transforming a behavior. So yeah, so that's it. So tomorrow's video is going to be about, so we've quit the behavior, but okay, the cravings are still going to come up. So what to do, how to respond once the cravings come up. You know, the old way was to do the behavior, reach out for the substance or whatever. What's the new way? So we'll go into that tomorrow.